Why is the way something looks important? Text, color, images, moving images, and sound all interact to produce a user-friendly environment within a user interface. This unit will help you understand the effect each software component has on the user. It explains how a consistent and thoughtful application of these components can have a significant impact on the look of the final product. Once we have chosen an interaction device for a user interface, we need to consider how to use it effectively. We have relatively little control over the appearance or use of input devices, so we concentrate on the design of the feedback provided by output devices. In particular, we concentrate on the following software components, which are text, color, images, moving images, and sound, respectively. It is important to be clear what you are trying to achieve when you use these components. We are assuming that you want to communicate information and functionality in a simple but effective manner. I'm going to elaborate on the use of text. You may wish to click on the following links below. Text is the dominant component in most education and training software and on many websites. It also plays a central role in standard software applications such as word processors and spreadsheets. It is a flexible and powerful means of communication. Text has a number of technical advantages over other media. Text files are small. Images, sound, animation, and video all produce large computer files, even when compressed. These files can be slow to load from CD-ROM or to transmit via the internet. And this can reduce the usability of the user interface. Text files are much smaller. Text can be manipulated very easily. For example, it is possible to search for words. If you are visiting a website, this sort of facility can save a huge amount of time. This is difficult to achieve with other media. However, it is probably society's reliance on text-based materials that maintains the central role of text. Nevertheless, although certain sectors of society spend much of their time reading and writing, this is not true for all sectors. As a user interface designer, you should explore the attitude of your user group to text. For example, you might like to find out their average reading age and the newspapers they read. It is important to ensure that your text does not contain words or expressions that may be unclear to your readers. You must select text that is meaningful to your users. The bullet points below give guidelines for creating legible text for a user interface. Some of these also apply to text on paper. This is a complex area, and it is hard to develop guidelines that apply in all circumstances, so you should apply these with care, always taking into account the needs of your particular users. Do not forget that your users may have poor eyesight. The term font is used widely in this context. A particular font is made up of two components: the typeface, such as Times New Roman, and the type size, which may be within a range, such as 8 point to 72 point. Spacing between letters is important, as letters that are too close together or too far apart can reduce legibility. In interline spacing, the legibility of smaller type size can be improved by increasing the line spacing. The maximum line length on a screen should be around 60 characters. Justification of text gives a predictable place for the eyes to start from when they jump back to the beginning of the next line. Line ending is a line that contains a single idea for a reader to follow. Finally, paragraph spacing should be separated by blank lines. We are going to elaborate on the use of color. You may wish to click on the following links below. The following points are ways of using colors. You will often find that important buttons or areas of the screen are different color. For example, warning signs are often in bright colors such as amber or red. Your eyes are drawn to these colors to show status. As the status becomes more critical, the color might change. An example of this is traffic lights changing from amber to red. Color can be used to organize the screen or to show perspective and make information clearer. To make the display more attractive, we are concentrating on usability rather than aesthetics here, but it is important to ensure that the combination of colors is visually appealing. Screens can only display a subset of the colors visible to the human eye. The retinas in our eyes, though, have 3 types of color receptors in the form of cones. We can actually only detect 3 of these visible colors, which are red, blue, and green. This limits the accuracy of color reproduction. There is also variation between computers, so a web page on a PC may look different when viewed on a Macintosh. There are similar problems with color printers. These issues can cause problems for some sectors, such as the fashion industry. There are also differences in the way we perceive color from a screen compared to the way we perceive color from paper. This means that the screen versions of colors can appear rather pale and unreal when compared with the equivalent paper versions. It also increases the likelihood of flickering for color combinations such as red and blue. When you use a color, you should think about what it is likely to mean to the people who look at it, as colors can have different connotations. These connotations are partly cultural, so you may find they do not ring true for you if you are a member of a non-Western culture, such as Chinese or Indian. For example, in Western culture, red is often used as a warning color, but in China, it is a joyful color. The color saturation can also be significant. Colors aimed at young people tend to be pure and bright, whereas colors evoking the natural world are relatively subdued, and colors aimed at older people are deeper. We are really straying into the domain of graphic designers. However, you still need to make decisions about the colors that you use. Make sure that you apply the colors consistently, always taking into account the characteristics of the users, the tasks they are carrying out, and the environment in which they will be using the computer system. It is good practice to evaluate your choices with users in order to inform your decisions. If you are using colors to organize the screen, then it is better to limit their number. Too many colors can be confusing and unpleasant to look at. Some guidelines recommend no more than 6 colors in addition to black and white. Design for monochrome, that is, designing in black and white, first can help to focus attention on the layout of the user interface. Also, not all users may have color screens. Do not forget that monochrome displays can be extremely effective, like the display in a railway station that indicates when the next train is about to arrive. Color perception varies greatly. About 8% of the male population is colorblind. Red, orange, and green are often confused, as are purple, blue, gray, and white. Color for reinforcement is when color should not be used in isolation. For example, speed limit signs on roads have a red border, but they also have black text on a white background, stating the maximum speed. An important factor when you use several colors is the intrinsic brightness of each. For legible text, there needs to be sufficient contrast between the brightness of the background and foreground colors. For example, white text on a yellow background would be difficult to read, but white on black would not, as the figure above demonstrates. All user interfaces need to communicate information. Color can be particularly effective for this. It can be used to emphasize the important areas of the screen or the key parts of a diagram. Color foregrouping is where it can be used to organize the screen. For example, areas of the screen containing different types of information may have a different background color. It can be used to represent a particular object or status, and this is known as color coding. For example, in an accounts package, the overdue accounts could be indicated by a red symbol. Color can be used to reinforce perspective on the screen. Related to the use of perspective is the use of color to represent different layers within a diagram.